Borussia move into attack.
To be the turning point.
Up-and-coming young talent.
Man who has done so little in the game.
Rome, May 25, 1977. Stadio Olimpico. Liverpool are in their first ever European Cup final, holding a one-goal advantage over Borussia Mönchengladbach, when the Germans equalize through Allan Simonsen and the atmosphere inside the stadium changes immediately. 52,000 people shift in their seats. Then, from the left side of the pitch, a tall, graceful figure with the ball at his feet steps to take a corner. He delivers it with precision and pace. Tommy Smith, playing his 600th game for Liverpool, rises above the entire defense and plants a header into the net. 3-1. The European Cup is going to Anfield. The man who swung in that corner was Steve Heighway, the same man who had threaded the pass that sent Terry McDermott through to score Liverpool's opener earlier in the match. The same man wearing a number 9 shirt, deployed as a winger, producing the two most important moments of a European Cup final for one of the most decorated clubs in the history of English football. But none of that should have happened. 7 years before that night in Rome, Steve Heighway did not have a professional contract. He was not on any Football League club's radar. He was finishing a university degree and playing non-league football on weekends for a club called Skelmersdale United, competing in the Cheshire County League. So how does a university student with no professional experience become the most dangerous winger in English football? And how does the man who helped Liverpool win their first European Cup return a decade later and build an entire second dynasty from the ground up? Let's go back to the beginning. Stephen Derek Heighway was born in Dublin on the 25th of November, 1947, and grew up partly in England, with schooling in the Sheffield and Stockport areas before earning a place at the University of Warwick in 1966. He was a serious student, graduating with a 2:1 in politics and economics, and a serious footballer, balancing lectures and training with a discipline that stood out in any room. The problem was that non-league football was nowhere near the level his ability demanded, and most professional clubs never took the time to find that out. Bob Paisley's sons did. Graham and Robert Paisley attended a Skelmersdale match, went home and told their father they had seen someone different. Bob Paisley, working as assistant manager under Bill Shankly at Anfield, drove out to watch for himself. He was barely off the touchline before the verdict was obvious. When I first saw him, Paisley would later say, he almost took my breath away because he had star written all over him. I told one of our coaches that here was the best amateur footballer I'd ever seen. Shankly needed nothing else. In April 1970, during Heighway's final weeks as a university student, Shankly and his staff arrived at the converted hotel where Heighway lived with 44 other students right around supper time, and offered a 1-year professional contract at £35 a week. Heighway said he would think about it. The Liverpool delegation were reportedly baffled. Nobody kept Bill Shankly waiting on a doorstep. But Heighway called his family, came back, and asked for £40 a week. Liverpool said they would call back. He signed. On the 28th of February 1970, Liverpool registered Heighway as an amateur, allowing him to finish the season at Skelmersdale. On the 19th of May, he turned professional under Shankly. No transfer fee changed hands. In transfer terms, Heighway had cost Liverpool nothing, one of the most consequential pieces of business in the club's entire history, completed before he had taken a single touch in the red shirt. The question was whether this amateur could actually perform at the highest level of English football. The answer arrived before he was even officially on the books. Shankly arranged for Heighway to appear in Jerry Burns' testimonial match as a preview. He spent the evening taking England international fullback Jimmy Armfield apart with pace and directness that had no business being in a benefit game. The dressing room noticed. The manager certainly did. Heighway's first competitive appearance came on the 29th of August 1970, and by November of that debut season, he was already producing the kind of moments that define a player's relationship with a crowd for years. Liverpool went 2-0 down to Everton in the Merseyside derby. The kind of deficit that exposes anyone in the squad who hasn't truly earned the shirt. Heighway scored to make it 2-1. He set up Toshak for the equalizer. Lawler completed the comeback, 3-2. A reversal built by a 22-year-old who months earlier had been playing non-league football. He made 49 appearances in that debut campaign. Not minutes off the bench, 49 full appearances across every competition Liverpool entered. Wembley came in May 1971. Liverpool's first ever FA Cup final, against an Arsenal side chasing the league and cup double. After 90 goalless minutes, the game went to extra time. 2 minutes in, Heighway received the ball wide on the left, cut inside Pat Rice, and tucked a shot past Bob Wilson at the near post. Liverpool were ahead. But Arsenal responded. Eddie Kelly equalized. Charlie George struck a long-range winner. Arsenal won 2-1 and took the double. Liverpool came home with nothing. Yet Steve Heighway had just scored in an FA Cup final in his first full professional season at 23 years old. The biggest occasions were where he was going to live. The trophies started arriving. In 1972-73, Liverpool won the First Division title and the UEFA Cup. Heighway's first major silverware after 3 years of near misses. The following year in the FA Cup final against Newcastle United, Liverpool were dominant from the first whistle. With the score at 1-0, Heighway collected a long clearance from Ray Clements, played it to Toshak, received the return pass, and finished right-footed. 2-0, Liverpool won 3-0. He had scored in a winning FA Cup final. Then another First Division title and another UEFA Cup in 1975-76. 5 major trophies in 6 years. The Cope had its own language for what Heighway represented. Fields of Anfield Road, sung to the melody of the Fields of Athenry, embedded his name permanently into the fabric of the club. Steve Heighway on the wing. We had dreams and songs to sing. Heighway later said that the first time he heard that lyric sung about him, it was intensely embarrassing. Years later, he said the feeling had become something else entirely, a pride that no medal or statistic could quite replicate. What made Heighway so difficult to stop was the combination of speed, balance, and technical quality that Paisley had spotted in a non-league ground. 2 good feet, direct running, pinpoint crossing, and end product that went far beyond simply delivering balls and hoping. 76 goals and 475 appearances tells you this was not a man who stood on the touchline and waited for something to happen. And later, as his pace reduced, he drifted into more central positions, proving his intelligence by extending his value to the team rather than forcing a style that no longer served it. Paisley's description of him remained the most precise. I've never seen a footballer move more gracefully. He should have been an Olympic athlete because he was so beautifully balanced. During all of this, Heighway was also representing the Republic of Ireland, earning his first cap in September 1970 in the same window as his Liverpool breakthrough, and going on to earn 34 international caps across more than a decade. He never scored at international level. A goal against Bulgaria in a 1978 World Cup qualifier in Sofia was ruled out. But 34 caps spanning 11 years is the record of a player who was never anything less than fully committed to every level of the game he played. Which brings us back to Rome. The 1976-77 season threatened a treble before Manchester United ended the FA Cup bid with a 2-1 final defeat. But the European Cup remained. Liverpool had never won it. On the 25th of May 1977, at the Stadio Olimpico against Borussia Mönchengladbach, they had their chance. Ian Callahan won possession in midfield. Heighway received it and threaded a pass into the space behind the German defensive line, finding Terry McDermott in stride. 1-0 point Simonsen equalized 10 minutes into the second half. Then Heighway walked to the left corner flag and bent in a delivery. Tommy Smith rose above everyone and headed it home. 2-1. Phil Neal sealed it from the penalty spot. 3-1. Liverpool, for the first time in their history, were champions of Europe. The former non-league amateur who had made Shankly wait for an answer had just delivered 2 assists in the most important match the club had ever played. A year later, Liverpool retained the European Cup at Wembley, beating Club Brugge 1-0. Heighway came off the bench, a second European Cup winner's medal to go with the first. When he finally left Liverpool in the spring of 1981, he had made 475 appearances and scored 76 goals. 5 league titles, 2 European Cups, 2 UEFA Cups, 1 FA Cup, 1 League Cup, 1 UEFA Super Cup. He left on a free transfer for Minnesota Kicks in the NASL, later played indoor soccer for Philadelphia Fever, and his playing career ended quietly in America, far from the terraces that had written his name into an anthem. But Steve Heighway was not finished with Liverpool. In 1989, Kenny Dalglish brought him back to Anfield as youth development officer. What he built over the next 18 years was, in its own way, as significant as anything he had won on the pitch. The Liverpool Academy at Kirkby became one of the most productive youth programs in English football, shaped by values that Shankly had given Heighway, and that Heighway had spent 2 decades living by. The things I say to players, Heighway said in 2013, "The ethics and morality of the game I picked up from Shanks." The players who came through under him were not ordinary academy prospects. They were Steven Gerrard, Jamie Carragher, Robbie Fowler, Michael Owen, and Steve McManaman, a generation that redefined Liverpool's identity for the following 15 years and gave the club a standard of player development that the academy continues to build on today. In 2007, Heighway stepped down as academy director after back-to-back FA Youth Cup victories, amid the turbulent Hicks and Gillett ownership era, and reported disagreements about the direction of the club's youth development. He was approaching 60. He had built 2 dynasties at the same club. In 2015, academy director Alex Inglethorpe brought him back as a full-time consultant. He worked in that role until December 2022, his second and final retirement, at the age of 75. In 2016, Liverpool presented him with a Lifetime Achievement Award for the playing career, for the academy years, for decades of service that the trophy cabinet can only partially explain. In 2026, the club ranked him 30th in their official list of the greatest players in Liverpool's history. Consider what that number actually represents. Steve Heighway arrived at Anfield with no transfer fee, a politics and economics degree, and a request for £5 extra a week that made Bill Shankly wait a full day for an answer. He went on to make 475 appearances, win 11 major trophies, deliver 2 assists in the first European Cup final Liverpool ever played, and then come back and produce the very generation of players who carried the club into the next chapter of its history. Few players who cost nothing have ever given a club this much back. Fewer still have found a way to do it twice.